In 2012, Robin would die of cancer.
I told Robin before he died, you know, it came true. It came true. Stop worrying about it. Stop thinking you have to do something else again to put the lid on it. And he was always searching for that. Well, maybe we can just get one more hit, you know.
When the doctors examined Robin Gibb's body after he died, they discovered something that left even his own family in shock. His cancer had actually gone into remission. The disease everyone thought had killed him was no longer active. What actually destroyed Robin Gibb was something far more terrifying. A genetic time bomb hidden in his DNA since birth. The exact same defect that had already killed his twin brother Maurice. Nobody saw this coming, and the full story is even worse than you think. The voice that changed everything. On December 22, 1949, in a small maternity home on the Isle of Man, a woman named Barbara Gibb gave birth to twin boys. The first one arrived just after midnight. His name was Robin Hugh Gibb. Exactly 35 minutes later, his brother, Maurice Ernest Gibb, followed. From the very first moment they entered this world together, these two boys shared a connection so deep that it would shape the course of modern music and ultimately lead them both to almost identical fates. The Gibb family had nothing. Their father, Hugh, was a working-class drummer and band leader who played dance halls across northern England at night and delivered bread during the day just to keep food on the table. Their mother, Barbara, had once been a singer herself before marriage and motherhood took over. There was older brother Barry, born in 1946, and then the twins. Later came the youngest, Andy, in 1958. Music was the one thing the family always had, even when they could not afford anything else. But here is something most people never talk about. Young Robin was not the quiet, well-behaved child people might imagine. He was actually a troublemaker with a dangerous habit of setting fires. He burned billboards around Manchester and got caught up in petty theft, along with his brothers. The local police became very familiar with the Gibb boys. In August 1958, the Gibb family boarded a ship called the Fair Sea at Southampton and sailed to Australia under an assisted migration program. Among their fellow passengers on that very same voyage, in one of pop music history's most unbelievable coincidences, were the parents of a baby girl who would one day become Kylie Minogue. The family settled in Redcliffe, Queensland, near Brisbane. The brothers immediately started performing anywhere that would let them. Their first regular gig was at the Redcliffe Speedway, where they would stand on the back of a flatbed truck being driven around the racetrack while spectators threw coins at them. Robin was just 8 years old. A local radio DJ named Bill Gates heard them perform through the old speakers at the Speedway and was amazed by their natural harmonies. It was this same DJ, along with a promoter named Bill Good, who actually gave the group their name. Most people believe the Bee Gees stand for the Gibb.
Robin helped turn the Bee Gees into one of the most successful bands of all time.
But the truth is that the name came from the shared initials of Bill Gates, Bill Good, and Barry Gibb. The brothers Gibb's explanation was a story they adopted later because it sounded better for marketing. Now, here is something crucial about Robin that people constantly overlook. While Barry had the stage presence and Maurice had the easygoing charm, Robin possessed a voice unlike anything anyone had ever heard before. Nobody taught Robin to sing like that. It was completely natural and completely unique to him.
Running my hands over my eyes.
Their Australian career was a brutal education in failure and rejection. They released single after single, and every one of them flopped. Between 7 and 11 records went absolutely nowhere. But then an engineer named Ossie Byrne gave them unlimited free access to a tiny recording studio he had built in the back of a butcher shop in suburban Sydney. Those months of non-stop practice and recording transformed them from struggling kids into real musicians. Their 12th single, Spicks and Specks, finally became their first Australian #1. But Australia felt too small for what they wanted to become. So in January 1967, they sailed back to England. Here is the cruel irony. The song that was making them famous in Australia was climbing the charts while they were stuck in the middle of the ocean with absolutely no way of knowing about it. Brothers in harmony and brothers at war. Everything changed when the brothers met Robert Stigwood, an ambitious music entrepreneur who heard their demo tape and signed them on the spot. Their first international single, New York Mining Disaster 1941, was so hauntingly distinctive.
Have you seen my wife, Mr. Jones?
That listeners across England genuinely thought it was a secret Beatles release. Stigwood had actually sent out promotional copies with blank white labels to encourage exactly that confusion. George Harrison himself later admitted he bought a copy thinking it might be a new Beatles track. Then came Massachusetts, featuring Robin on lead vocals.
Back to Massachusetts.
Which rocketed to #1 across Europe. What almost nobody knows is that the song was originally written for the Australian group The Seekers, and none of the Bee Gees had ever actually set foot in the state of Massachusetts. Robin later explained with typical bluntness that they just liked how the word sounded. But right in the middle of this incredible rise to fame, something happened to Robin that would haunt him for the rest of his life. On November 5th, 1967, the 17-year-old Robin and his girlfriend Molly Hullis boarded an evening express train from Hastings to London. Near Hither Green Station in southeast London, the train derailed at approximately 70 miles per hour. 49 passengers were killed that night, and 78 more were seriously injured. A piece of steel from the railway track shot through the carriage window and passed Robin's face by approximately 1 inch. Robin later described talking to passengers who were having their limbs amputated right there on the railway tracks. He was covered in blood with shattered glass in his eyes and his mouth. He did not sleep properly for months after that night. Barry later observed that the crash seemed to mark Robin's entire character permanently. He became twice as serious about everything in life and much more nervous about the world around him. But something else happened too. He started writing better and deeper music that one night planted a seed of obsession with death and mortality that Robin carried with him until his very last breath. He once admitted to an interviewer that he was absolutely frightened stiff of death. By 1969, the tensions between the brothers had grown unbearable. Robin felt increasingly pushed aside by Barry, both in songwriting credit and in the vocal spotlight. When the group chose Barry's composition 1st of May over Robin's song Lamplight as the next single, Robin was devastated. He announced his departure from the Bee Gees on March 19, 1969, telling the press that music was an adventure to him and he could achieve far more working alone. By 1970, the pull of brotherhood proved stronger than any grudge. Robin visited Barry's home one afternoon, and within a single hour, they had written How Can You Mend a Broken Heart together. They called Maurice, finished the song that same night, and the Bee Gees were officially back. That song became their first ever #1 single in America. But the good times would not last. By 1974, the Bee Gees had fallen so far from grace that they were reduced to playing working men's clubs in northern England for pocket money. The comeback began with a strange piece of luck on a bridge in Miami. Disco Kings and the Price of Glory. While driving across the Julia Tuttle Causeway to Criteria Studios every day, Barry noticed the road surface creating a rhythmic clicking sound underneath the car at exactly 35 miles per hour. His wife Linda said, "Hey, listen to that noise," and Barry immediately started humming a melody over the top of it. That rhythm became Jive Talkin', and it changed absolutely everything for the Bee Gees overnight.
It's just your jive talking, you're telling me.
During those same recording sessions, producer Arif Mardin asked if any of the brothers could scream in tune. Barry tried it and accidentally discovered a falsetto voice he never even knew he possessed. Robert Stigwood rang the brothers, while they were recording in France and told them about a low-budget film about a young man who works in a paint store and spends all his wages going out on Saturday nights. The brothers agreed to write the songs and completed nearly the entire soundtrack in a single weekend. But here is the painful truth that Robin carried privately for the rest of his life. He did not sing lead vocals on a single Bee Gees track on that entire Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Every single song featured Barry's new falsetto. Robin contributed background harmonies and adapted without complaint in public, but the shift in power was undeniable and deeply wounding to him personally. The fame brought pressure that most people could never imagine. The shadow behind the spotlight. Robin's marriage to Molly Hullis, whom he had married in December 1968, when he was just 18 years old, completely collapsed under the weight of constant touring and long separations.
In Hall, Robin Gibb of the Bee Gees marries the girl he saved from disaster.
His addiction, which had quietly begun as early as the late 1960s, grew worse during the pressure of the disco years. Barry later confirmed the family's struggles with surprising honesty, explaining that Robin preferred pills, Maurice was a drinker, and that they mostly stayed away from the harder substances. Robin's substance problems and the chaos of fame directly contributed to him losing custody of his two children, Spencer and Melissa. He was denied access to them for 6 full years, and later described that period as feeling sad, rejected, and completely worthless as a father. Then came the night that destroyed disco and nearly destroyed the Bee Gees along with it. On July 12, 1979, at Comiskey Park Baseball Stadium in Chicago, a local radio DJ organized a public destruction of disco records between the 2 games of a baseball doubleheader. 50,000 people showed up.
50,000 people, the largest crowd of the season, showed up at Chicago's Comiskey Park.
The explosion of records on the field sparked a full-scale riot. The Bee Gees became the face of everything that people suddenly hated about disco music. Radio stations across America started advertising Bee Gees' free days as a selling point. The brothers received death threats in the mail. Their next album could not even crack the top 40. Robin eventually found stability again through his second wife, Dweena Murphy, an Irish-born artist and Druid priestess, whom he married in 1985. They settled in a remarkable property called the Prebendal in Thamay, Oxfordshire, a converted 12th century monastery where King Henry VIII had once stayed. Robin claimed their bedroom was haunted by a ghost from the 1600s that he called John the Gardener. But the Gibb family curse was far from finished. Their youngest brother, Andy, had achieved the almost impossible feat of having his first 3 singles all reach #1 on the American Billboard chart. But substance destroyed him completely. After his relationship with Dallas actress Victoria Principal fell apart, Andy told reporters he had started using substance around the clock at roughly $1,000 every single day. By 1987, he was bankrupt. His 3 older brothers gave him a weekly allowance of just $200 to survive on. On March 10, 1988, just 5 days after celebrating his 30th birthday, Andy complained of chest pains at a hospital in Oxford, England. He told the nurses he felt fine. Moments later, he lost consciousness and never woke up again. He was 30 years old. Then, on January 9, 2003, the phone call came that shattered Robin's entire world. The twin who stayed behind. His twin brother Maurice had been rushed to Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami with severe abdominal pain caused by a twisted intestine. Robin did not even know Maurice was in the hospital until it was almost too late. Emergency surgery was attempted, but Maurice suffered a cardiac arrest on the operating table and died on January 12th at the age of 53.
Who died yesterday from a heart attack after abdominal surgery.
The autopsy revealed something that made the tragedy even more devastating. Maurice had been born with a congenital malformation of the intestine, a genetic defect that meant his bowels could twist and cut off blood supply at any moment without warning. This was not bad luck. It was something Maurice had carried in his body from the day he was born. Robin's account of his final visit to his twin brother is absolutely heartbreaking. He said that he did not give Maurice a kiss because he still had not accepted what was happening. He was hoping and praying for a miracle that never came. He later told interviewers that he wished more than anything that he had kissed him while he still had the chance. Robin said he was a twin for life, and that he was forever caught between two realities, one where Maurice's death actually happened, and another where it simply did not have to. He said he would wake up in the middle of the night thinking about his brother and could not accept that Maurice was truly gone from this world. Barry observed that losing his twin did all kinds of things to Robin internally, and that the grief never left him for a single day. Robin threw himself into composing the Titanic Requiem, an ambitious classical work with his son R.J., recorded with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. It contained Robin's very last recorded vocal performance on a hauntingly beautiful track called Don't Cry Alone. He seemed to be racing against an invisible clock that only he could hear ticking. History repeating. In August 2010, while performing at a concert in Belgium, Robin experienced severe abdominal pain that left him unable to continue. Emergency surgery at a hospital in Oxford revealed a blocked intestine. It was the exact same condition that had killed his twin brother Maurice. The parallels were so disturbing that even the doctors treating him remarked on the similarity. Doctors strongly advised follow-up scans and regular monitoring. Robin waited 8 months before going back, too afraid of what they might find inside him. By April 2011, he could no longer ignore the symptoms that were getting worse every week. The diagnosis hit him like a freight train: colorectal cancer that had already spread to his liver.
In November 2011, the world learned that Robin was battling colon cancer.
Robin began 7 rounds of chemotherapy. He made his final public appearance on February 13, 2012, at a charity concert for British military veterans at the London Palladium. Despite being visibly frail and clearly unwell, he received a standing ovation from every single person in the audience. He told the BBC afterward that his recovery had been spectacular. It had not been. He was dying, and he knew it. The shocking truth they never saw coming. In March 2012, Robin was hospitalized after developing pneumonia on top of everything else his body was already fighting. On April 14th, he fell into a coma caused by liver and kidney failure. Then, remarkably, in late April, he suddenly opened his eyes and regained consciousness. His doctors were completely stunned. Nobody had expected him to wake up again, but it was only temporary. On his deathbed, Robin called out for his son, R.J., and spoke his final words. He said he wished Mo were here and that he simply could not believe his twin brother was gone. Even in his very last moments of life, the bond with his twin brother was the thing that consumed his thoughts completely. Robin Gibb died on May 20, 2012, at the age of 62, surrounded by his family. But here is the most shocking revelation of all. His son R.J. later revealed that Robin's cancer had actually gone into remission by the time he passed away. The cancer was no longer killing him. It was the cascade of secondary complications that took his life.
My father is singing the lead. I mean, my voice already lends itself.
The congenital intestinal condition that Robin shared with his twin Maurice, the very same genetic defect that had been written into their DNA from the moment they were conceived together in the same womb, had contributed to the deaths of both brothers. Robin had said something near the end of his life that now reads like a prophecy. He told a newspaper that he sometimes wondered whether all the tragedies his family had suffered was some kind of karmic price they were paying for all the fame and fortune they had been given. At his funeral on June 8, 2012, at the Church of St. Mary, the Virgin in Tame, a horse-drawn glass carriage carried his white coffin through the streets of the town he had called home. His 2 beloved Irish wolfhounds, Ollie and Missy, walked behind the carriage. How Deep Is Your Love played as the coffin entered the church. I started a joke played as the mourners filed out into the sunlight. Barry Gibb, the last surviving brother of the original Bee Gees, stood at the front of the church with tears streaming down his face and spoke directly to the crowd. He said that life is too short, and that in Robin's case, it was absolutely too short. He confessed that God knows how much they had argued over the years, even right up to the very end. And then he said something that made every single person in that church fall completely silent. He said the conflict means nothing now. It just means nothing. And if there is conflict in your lives, get rid of it. Exactly 40 days after Robin's funeral, Queen Elizabeth II unveiled the Royal Air Force Bomber Command Memorial in London's Green Park.
Tonight, the Queen is preparing to unveil the first official public memorial to the tens of thousands of men.
Robin had championed this project for 5 long years, personally raising £5.6 million to build a monument honoring the 55,573 aircrew who lost their lives in World War II. He had called it the proudest thing he had ever done in his entire life. His name is inscribed on the memorial stone. He never lived to see it completed. If Robin Gibb's story touched your heart today, let us know your thoughts in the comments below.